start?
Yeah, okay. So I'll start the program. Welcome everyone to another session of the 2-hour craft week. On this program, we interview aquarists from all over the world. This week we have a special guest from the Philippines, and we are interviewing three distinct aquascapers from the Philippines. We have Rennier, Matthew, and Nelson. And I think that those of you involved in the aquascaping world will have seen their work at one time or another. And I think that Matthew this year is especially famous because he won first place in the IFPLC. Yes. Um, Bringing Philippines to the world stage. Yes.
Yes.
I think that Philippines have always had a lively aquascaping scene, but in more recent years. Will you guys say so? Will you
What?
guys say so? The aquascaping in Philippines picked up in more recent years.
No?
Yeah. I when I started with the Philippine group, that was like around what 2011, and further back
Yes.
then there were already groups that were
Okay.
active.
So maybe we go for a short introduction round. So for all three of you, can you tell us whether you do work related to aquascaping? Do you have a favorite style of hang? And will you describe yourself as more of a plant person? Are you very hardscape focused, or do you come from, let's say, the fish background? So maybe we'll start from you, Nelson.
Yeah. Okay. My background goes far when I was still in high school, and
Okay.
that long time ago, really long time ago. So I started with the fish tank first. And when I started learning about aquascaping, it just mended well. I mean, that was the thing that was missing in the aquarium fish keeping back then. Because I was struggling with plants. We didn't know how to grow plants back then, and we were sold those non-aquatic plants on the pet shops that we were trying to grow, and we get frustrated all the time. But yeah, uh, when Amano Sensei started all this, it was like a breakthrough. Like, wow, we can really grow things actually. And that, as far as back as my background goes, until early on in the 2011, 26, something like that, I started slowly, and then came to realize that there were more people in the Philippines that was doing this, and
Yes.
joining the group, like you get enlightened, you start learning more about other people on the international stage, and the knowledge just grows from there. That's where I came
Can,
from.
yeah. Can you tell the audience, do you do any work related to aquascaping?
uh, Work, more on the hobby. It's
Yeah.
like I've always been on the art side. I paint, I draw. So
Okay.
those skills I learned in how to draw perspectives, color, arrangement, uh, everything that I've learned was easily applied into aquascaping because
Okay.
the template is the same. It's almost the same. We're looking at an image and you're
Yes.
trying to make it beautiful, but on from your eyes, and how do you convert something that is two-dimensional in your head into a three-dimensional living
Yes.
art?
Yes.
So that's how it connects to my experience.
Yes. Okay. So let's move on to Matt. Matt, can you hear us?
Yeah, actually I started as fish hobbyist, and also before I started aquascaping as my passion on competitive aquascaping, I'm started breeding quality guppies, competition type
Oh,
guppies. If you're familiar
okay.
with guppies.
Yes.
Yeah, so I started with that, and after that things happens not good in shipping livestock. So I stopped fish breeding because the man is
Mm.
dead. So I go back in aquascaping, and I
Okay.
discover more about aquascaping, doing some
Okay.
research and try to create step by step.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, that's all.
Do you have a favorite style of tank?
What?
Favorite style of tank?
Favorite
Favorite
style of
style?
tank.
Yes.
Favorite style.
Yes.
For me, I like diorama. I like big impact aquascape.
Mm.
Yeah, because it's represent my character. It reflects my character.
Okay. Okay. How about you, Rennier?
Hi, good evening, everyone. So for me, I'm just started when I was a kid. I have a aquarium at home, but we're just having a goldfish and cichlids, something like that. So back then, I don't know really about aquascaping. Just happened when because I'm overseas Filipino workers, as they called it. So when I came here in Hong Kong, then I found out this hobby, the aquascaping. So from that, uh, I was really amazed about the how they grow the plants in the tank. So from that, I learned about the aquascaping and tried to search and found out this Philippine aquascaping group. So from that, I learned little by little, and yeah, that's good. But I'm civil engineer in my profession, so it's a bit far
Okay.
from aquascaping hobby. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
aquascaping is just my stress relieving uh, hobby. Yeah.
Okay. Stress relieving, but sometimes the tanks are also stressful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Especially during when the deadline is about to came, so it's very stressful.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So three of you here because I think that people want to hear about your aquascaping work and techniques. So I think that is a topic we can start first. Perhaps I think the very big change in aquascaping over the last 10 years is that there's this increased focus on hardscape, right? Oh, Matt has dropped. Fine. Okay, we have to wait a while for Matt.
Yeah. Is that
Yeah, I think that there's an increased focus on hardscape. So we shall talk a little bit about this topic. Um, when you go about on this kind of complex project, and you're thinking about your hardscape, do you go out to look for hardscape first, or do you have an idea and then you try to find pieces that fits that idea?
Mhm.
We can go in the order again. We can start with you perhaps, Nelson.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, sometimes I do have a good idea of what I can use and I want to use. The problem is finding it.
Yes.
It's the search for it, and especially I'm in Okinawa,
Yeah.
so my resources are very limited.
Okay.
As far as hardscape is concerned, I'm only stuck with what the pet shop has.
Okay.
Otherwise, I will really have to purchase overseas what I
Yes.
need.
Yeah.
There are times that I really had to, if yeah, I really had to buy from overseas just because it's sometimes it's not really possible to have it. So
Mm.
yeah, a lot of like creativity is at work in there. It's like, what can I replace this with
Mm.
that I have here? I just gotta find a way to make it work. So yeah,
Okay. Do you?
eventually it builds itself, and yeah, it's up to you on how you're gonna take it as it is and build
So
from it.
so trying to use creativity to make
Yeah,
use of
yeah,
they are not so ideal.
yeah. I don't think you can be very successful with aquascaping without
Yes.
applying creativity because
Mm.
it, the this theory of constraints, there will
Yes.
always be something that will
Yeah.
challenge you, and
Yes.
you gotta be prepared for that.
Do you shape the hardscape or not? Do you chop the wood and
Yeah, well, my style is different in a way that I kind of have the basic idea on how it will work, but eventually, as as it progresses, I keep changing it.
Uh,
Like
uh, uh,
that doesn't look right. So yeah, I don't know if it's a good thing or bad because like eventually I end up with a different uh look on how I started it with.
okay. Yeah, but I think that is the natural evolution of the aquascapes. They tend
Yeah,
to be a bit different from our original idea.
yeah.
Um, but that's the natural part of it as well, because we are using natural materials that are not exactly in a certain format. Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yes. How about you, Matthew? Do you have an idea and then you go and look for the hardscape that fits? Or do you search for inspiration from like the random hardscape? Nice, when you see a nice hardscape piece, you get it first, then you build a tank around it.
Okay, for me, when I started my concept, I always check the history of aquascaping. I always check if my idea is already done before.
Oh,
So I
okay,
like to create a concept that you can see before.
okay,
So
okay,
and I also find inspiration on internet
okay.
because sometimes I don't have time to go to the trail or mountains, rivers to get inspiration. So I get my inspiration from the internet, and also before I execute it, I always considered many things like the composition, the dynamics, the tensions, everything about aspect of arts. I
Yeah.
always put in mind during my conceptualizing, and sometimes I spend more months. I mean,
Mm,
before I
mm,
finish my concept, I always study for a month before I execute it.
mm.
So everything's make what they call this perfect.
Ah,
So
okay, yes. Yes, I remember seeing your inspiration photos. I remember seeing your inspiration photos and looking at your finished works, and they look very similar, right?
yeah,
So you have the idea and it came to life in your tank very well. So you are
yeah,
very precise on the details to match
yeah.
the yes, yes. So for
Also, I
you, I
have
think
additional. Oh, okay,
you do
proceed.
a lot of you do a lot of work to shape the hardscape to fit your idea. Yes.
Mm-hmm. I have another advice to some aquascapers
Mhm.
because when I start when during the process of conceptualizing, I always think the uh, realistic about what you want to do. I mean, it's you are capable to do it, whatever it takes, because sometimes we have a great imagination, but in
Mm.
reality, it's hard for us to execute it. So we must be
Yes.
realistic on concept we like and the skills that we have. But
Yes.
my advice is uh, you need to go out your backs so you can execute even the concept is too hard. Like slate stone. It's really hard to use that stone actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I want to create something different. So I keep pushing my limits so everything can happen. Just you need to push yourself and always be realistic about your goal.
Yes. Okay. Okay. How about you, Rainier?
For me, it's just like Nelson. So because I'm here in Hong Kong, so the hardscape here is really a bit pricey. So when I started
Yes.
in aquascaping, I just only use what I have in my hand and then try to figure out what layout I can be done on that hardscape that I bought. But
Okay.
just after some few years ago, when I get good ranking, so I just started to use internet to search for ideas. So I usually use Pinterest to search for ideas, and then from that, if I found the idea that I like, then I will try to search for the hardscape. And but searching for hardscape is really also hard for me because, as I said, it's a bit pricey here. So I'm always thinking of different to use different types of hardscape, not the usual hardscape that we see in aquascaping, just like the dragonstone, the Tweety wood, just like what I use in last year entry in the IPLC. I just use the bark of the pine tree to create log, fallen trees. So because it's if I buy driftwood like Malaysian driftwood, it's very expensive and it's difficult to source here. So yeah, I usually use Pinterest to search for ideas and then look for the hardscape afterward.
Okay. This is a question. This is the next question for all of you. When doing like works or competitions, how long do you take to work on the hardscape? How long do you give yourself just to shape the wood and connect them up? Yeah, so I think like Matthew mentioned that his conceptualization take months, and I think that like forming the pieces together will take many weeks or months or so. Is that right, Matthew? For your case?
Yeah, it's right. It depends on the what they call this. It depends on the materials I use and the concept. But the first time that I used the slate stone, which is it's hard for me because I don't really use that before, and I'm not familiar on that hardscape. So it took me a months and days before I finish my synergy. If you're familiar with that, the rank 5 bronze prize last
Yeah.
2021.
Yeah.
And then after that, this my latest tank Ascent, it just took me 2 weeks, I guess. Yeah. So it
Oh,
depends on
okay.
the experience. Sometimes
Mm,
experience it makes you uh it makes you what do you call it? Better and faster.
yes, yes. And sometimes like something is not right in the hardscape and you have to make changes, then that
Yeah.
can can take much
Yeah.
longer as well. Right. Mm,
Yeah.
mm.
Of course,
Oh,
we during the process of creating the hardscape, there's always a changes. We
yeah.
don't stick on what we do, we stick on what the best is. So if we see something not good on our eyes or on the perspective or the things that we want to achieve, we change some positioning of the hardscape and the details and many other things.
Mm, mm. Okay. How about you, Nelson? What has your experience been like?
Wait again. I lost I lost the question.
How long do you take
I
to
okay.
build the hardscape of a tank? Do you take a very long time? Do you let it sit,
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
are you like a fast worker?
I do take a long time because
Yes.
in my case I've learned that like redoing it will take another resetting it. Once
Mm,
I realize it's all wrong, it will take longer. So I was like, I usually invest on the initial setup that it should be not be touched anymore as soon as I got it set up,
okay.
because it happened many times. Like I put the wrong materials, it collapsed. I even
Yeah.
tried styrofoam before,
Yes.
and guess what? It floated. I used styrofoam to hold the hardscape like a stone. Didn't think it will float because I thought like the stone is heavier, but eventually it floated, ruined everything, and I was like, that was a waste of time, really. So my take is like as much as possible, have everything set up correctly the first time, and
Okay.
then so you can just at least on the plants and the soil and other things on the aquarium, you can adjust that easily. But your hardscape, it takes time to recover if it breaks.
Yeah.
So yes,
Have there been tanks where you have to go back in to do some changes when it's already flooded?
yeah. When it's like really like bothers me a lot. Like every time I look at it, I know it's wrong. It doesn't look right. I ask myself, is it worth redoing it? And if it is, I really will have to. And yes, when you're already set up, and then you try to break things, it's like starting over again.
Yes.
Cloud, the plant will die again. You got algae growing again, things like that. So yeah, it happens.
Yes, I think that is the trouble, that when people see the finished work, they don't realize how much work was done
Yeah.
to the tank to reach that
Yes.
state.
Yeah. That's something I think cannot be explained. You have to experience it. Like
Yeah.
it almost. I think this month is the best month to start if you're going for the IAPLC, or you should have really started like 2 months ago. And just because there will be challenges along the way, there will be a lot of changes. And you come to the end part of it when you're taking the photograph. For me, it's like at that part, it's like one photograph for an entire year's worth of work. Then you really have to make it right. Mm-hmm.
So I guess a lesson for our viewers who are still new to aquascaping is you should start early, because the journey is not always smooth. You need to work on the tank more than you think you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about Rennier? How about your experience? Is it
For me,
similar to the others?
I usually around a month to do the hardscape, but just only the main hardscape. As they said, I also do changes during the process. So
Okay.
normally I take photo almost every day, and because the way you see it to your naked eye will be different when you take a photo, right? So normally I take
Yes.
photo and then I usually ask my aquascaping friends like Matthew. I ask him his opinion if there's I need to change, because for your eyes maybe it's so perfect, but from the eyes of
Yes.
the others there's so many changes that you need to do. So yeah, so normally I only put the main hardscape on the aquarium piece by piece, but it's really difficult because they always make my tank create scratches on it. So maybe for this year I will try to use the sandbox first to do the layout outside, and then later on put it inside the tank, which I think much better and much easy. Yeah.
Okay. So do the layout outside the tank before moving it in.
I will try this year to do that way, but normally I just do the layout inside the tank directly.
Okay.
I
So
just
sorry, when
draw
you say
some.
yeah. So when you
Yeah,
say do
okay.
the layout outside the tank, do you do it on the board or something?
Yeah, I just make a box like a same size of my tank and a plywood,
Oh,
and then try to make it there, and then piece by then I'll make it just a Lego to put it inside the tank
yeah.
to
Okay.
connect it
Okay.
together,
Okay. So
because
I
it's
think
really
that for
difficult to do. Yeah, because I think it's really difficult to do changes while it's already in the tank, especially on the side of both side of the tank. It's really difficult.
yes.
So
Yeah.
I'll try this year to make it outside the tank. Yeah.
Okay. So a tip for our viewers that are new to aquascaping, what Rainier talked about was that you can build portions of the hardscape outside the tank before moving them in. This is because as you build up towards the sides of the tank, it can be actually difficult to reach in, or you could scratch the glass with rock as well. So you can build some of these structures outside the tank before fitting it together inside the tank. Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, as you described, building a complex Lego piece.
Yeah, just like that.
Okay, so coming on to the point about connecting hardscape, do you guys have a standard go-to method for connecting rock and stone? Is there a specific type of glue you use? Do you use secret filter, or what do you use to connect the pieces together? Is it different for rock versus wood, or do you use the same method for each? Again, we'll start with you, Nelson. What is your preferred method of connecting hardscape?
I'm not really using glue as much as I should be because
Okay.
well, as far as I remember, I only used rocks in 2018, my entry in 2018, and those rocks were really huge. They're really 10 kilogram each. So I was like, it will hold itself. I don't have to glue it. Yeah. But then there are some pieces that I think I did use epoxy because it was really heavy. But that means that I was doing everything while it was still dry. Like like creating the hardscape, not like adjusting it when it was already submerged in.
Okay.
So
you
yeah,
use epoxy. Yeah. Okay.
Pretty much I just stack them
Yeah.
with each other. Yeah.
Okay. How about you, Matthew? For your complex dioramas, how do you connect the hardscape?
Connect. I always use cotton,
Okay.
and acrylics glue, and
Okay.
after that, I always use the powder of the stone that I use.
Okay. Okay. Yes.
Yeah. So
We just cyanoacrylate too.
no, I didn't use styro, but sometimes I use spray foam so it can hide the hole on the hardscape.
Okay. Mm.
Yeah. Or
So,
I
so
also use what it what?
how much glue do you use in your hardscape then?
Oh, uh, actually I use many glue,
Yeah, many.
about like 20
About.
plus, 25 plus, 50 grams of the
Oh my
glue.
God.
I
Okay.
use too much
Uh,
glue on my hardscape.
okay. Okay. So you use cyanoacrylate super glue with cotton,
Yeah,
and sometimes
yeah,
you use the rock powder, right? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. The rock powder is strong, I feel.
Uh, yes, it can add holes to the
Yes.
big structure, and
Yes.
it's actually strong.
Yes. Do you use epoxy? No.
Before I used that, but it's time consuming for me, so right now I didn't use any.
Okay. 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 So mostly just super glue with cotton or the rock chips. Yes.
Uh, yeah, just cotton. I don't use tissue or what,
Yeah.
rack
Okay.
wool. Just
Okay.
cotton.
Just cotton. Okay. How about you, Rainier?
For me, when I started aquascaping, I will just use the wires to the zip tie to connect the woods to the stones. But
Wire.
recently, I use just
Is it
the normal
wire?
wires in the construction wire.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it later on it will become rusty and it's not good. Because before I
Okay.
don't know how to connect each and every pieces. So that's what I used before, and also I used epoxy before. I
Okay.
think 5 years ago, but now I'm using the super glue and
Okay.
together with the coffee husk. You know, if you have espresso machine at home, because I'm a
Yeah.
coffee lover. When after I make a coffee, I just keep the coffee husk and then use it as a filler together with the glue.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
You dry it first, right?
Yeah, I dry the coffee husk and then use it as a together with the super glue.
So how do you guys get for some skips they are very built up by the sides. What do you use to gain the height? Do you just stack more and more hardscape? Or like you said, Nelson, you have used styrofoam before, but that didn't work. Do you use bricks or do you just stack lighter rocks below? What is your method of adding height to your hardscape?
Yeah. I'm
Um,
using
yes.
right now. Last time I was using pebbles. I put pebbles
Pebble.
in wrap it in a net.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay.
Then I use that as a filler. It holds
Okay.
as well. The weight itself will hold, and it adapts to the shape
Okay.
because
Okay.
it's like somehow like permeable. But yeah, pebbles work for me. But
Okay.
the only thing I'm afraid with too much of the weight is the glass breaking. So I really have to like think hard, like how much can this glass hold?
Okay.
Because I use really massive rocks.
Yes, really massive rocks.
Yeah, yeah. So probably what that stone that they use for gardening. I go to the garden shop a lot because I really find a lot of things I can use in a garden shop.
Rainier, how about you? What do you stack below your hardscape?
For me, I'm using this one. This is a plastic
Oh,
frame.
that's great.
Mm.
Okay. Okay.
So from this, I will stack it for 2 to 3 layers and then put it
Okay.
on the racks because for this one, the pressure on the glass will be balanced.
Mm.
So I
Okay.
usually stack about 2 to 3 layers of this, and then from that, I will stack the stone to make the height. And also, it
Okay.
will save you from using more stones.
Yeah. Yeah. So I like to do that as well because I find that it saves cost on the stone.
Yes, it's much
Yes.
cheaper,
Yes.
and you can
But do you
reuse
do
it
that?
every time.
Yes. Do you have to cut it? No?
Yeah, sometimes I carry because this one is not it will not fit to the 120 cm tank, so I just cut
Okay.
it from time to time.
Okay. Okay. So we have plastic material. We have pebbles. And what about you, Matthew? What do you use to get height in your hardscape?
Um, okay, as you can see, all of my cape have higher stone, right? A
Yes.
big
Yes.
stone.
Very high. Yes.
Today, I use pure stone,
You use pure
and
stone.
yeah, just pure stone because I have a lot of supply right now. But I remember before when I don't have money to buy those stuff, as because as we know that hardscape is too expensive, right?
Yes.
And you need too many hardscape for you to create a big wall like what I
Yes.
always do. So before to do that, I use uh, other stone like lava rocks or boulder rocks. And
Okay.
for the height of my soil, uh,
Yes.
wait, I use a bottle of water with water inside.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So
Okay. So
that's
it's
my trick.
yes, just waste
Yeah, that's
material
cheaper.
below. Oh my gosh.
So I can what do you call this? So I have higher soil effect or
Yeah.
sorry,
Slope.
yeah,
Slope.
The
I
slope,
forgot what it's
yeah.
called.
Okay.
Yeah.
For are
That's
you
all.
worried of the weight of the rocks, Matthew, when you stack them so high? Are you
What?
worried about? Are you worried that the rock will be too heavy for the tank?
For me, as for my experience, I didn't. I'm not afraid to put many rocks because uh, I feel the glass can hold as long it is
Okay.
in standard.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's matting on the
Yeah.
bottom of the tank. It's really
Okay.
important. Uh,
Okay.
yeah,
So
that's
sorry, you have a mat inside the tank, you mean?
no outside.
Oh, outside. Okay. So to make sure that it's even.
Yeah, thicker one.
Go on. Okay. Okay. Okay, so Matthew uses some waste materials in the past to just as fillers, and he also stacks. He just stacks the rock straight nowadays because he has more supply. Yeah, and I think the key point is that he's not afraid of the weight of the rocks. So if you look at some of his scapes, you'll find that the rocks are stacked to the rim for the front two sides, and apparently it's okay. Yeah. Um, so when you guys are constructing the hardscape, are you already thinking about the plants or your concern is only to get the best hardscape possible, then the plants are add on only later? is thinking about the plants something you do from the start of your process, Nelson?
Yes, I do. That's one of the basic things that are already listed on the plan is what plants I'm gonna use because
Okay.
they always go together. It's
Okay.
like if I'm going to have something like a diorama, then I
Yeah.
would choose plants that have very tiny leaves because that's the only plant that will work. Like
Yes.
large leaf plants will clash with the entire scene. So
Yes.
definitely I already have a list of plants where I'm gonna put them and how much I'm gonna buy and even the timing of that buying is really
Okay.
important because
Yeah.
I might have plans for Monte Carlo and then I couldn't find it, then I'm doomed.
Mm.
So I
Mm.
had to time it. Again, like in climates above the equator, it's really good around October to December because that's the moss where the
Oh, the
moss
cooler.
yeah, the cool weather is very good for the moss, so we have to time that too. And
Okay.
I consider that as part of the plan to like
Okay.
when am I gonna put the moss in? Because I know by May they're not very happy anymore. Above
Yes.
28 degrees, moss are not happy. So yeah, definitely plants are on the top list with together with the hardscape.
Okay. How about you, Rainier?
For me also, I always visualize first what will be what will be the final lookout of my tank. So I also think about the how the plants behave in the aquarium because as you may know, if you buy immersed plants, when you submerge it, it will change differently, right? So I usually already visualize how this plants behaves while already inside the tank. So from that, I usually gather the plants already in my small tank so that when
Okay.
the time that
Okay.
I need to plant it, so I'll just put it in the space I want it to. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think Matthew, because he was riding in the car, I think that he has dropped off. We'll wait a while for him to come back. But we can talk about some other things
Mm,
first.
sure.
Sure.
I think that for a lot of aquascaping, the most difficult portion of starting a tank is the first few weeks.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
yeah, as you submerge the tank, the plants have to adapt. Some plants may melt. You may get more algae before the tanks are cycled.
Mhm.
Do two of you have certain steps that you do for to ensure that your tank has a smooth start? What do you do in the first 3 weeks when you just planted your aquascape? Yeah.
Mhm.
Maybe Nelson, you can start.
So in my case, because I only I have limited space in our house. You know, Japan housing is not really big. They're
Okay.
tiny. So
Okay.
I can only accommodate like a 60 centimeter and a 90. So what I do is if I'm gonna work on the 90 centimeter for a competitive tank, I pretty much just transfer what I already have on the 60. Like the
Okay.
some of the soil and the filter media of the 60, I move it
Okay.
onto the 90.
Okay.
That way I don't have to like
Sorry,
wait.
you take the soil also.
Yeah, yeah. Some
Wow.
not entirely everything, but I do pick up some of
Okay.
those just
Okay.
to make sure my water is good and I
Yeah.
don't have to like struggle with because sometimes when I use brand new soil, aqua
Yeah.
soil, there is a tendency for me to get an algae because I get excited to like flood it with light. Grow
Okay.
now, quick.
Okay.
Yeah, then I lose control. So
Okay.
generally, just I think for my assurance, I just make sure okay, my filter is good. That's not where the problem is gonna come from, and the
Okay.
soil is pretty much already like prepared. That problem is not gonna be coming from there. If it just kind of for me, it kind of reduces the analysis on what might
Yeah.
go wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
So for your approach is that you're prepared a smaller tank with the plants so that they are well acclimatized, and
Yes,
you have
yes,
seeded soil, and you have a filter that is already seeded.
yes, yes, exactly.
Mm. Do you do more water changes in the first few
Oh
weeks?
yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
definitely. Water change is like my go-to solution on everything.
Okay.
Like when
How often for the first for
well
new
my
tank?
my an aggressive water change regimen for me is like at least 3 times a week.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
aggressive enough, and more than like probably 40%.
Yes.
But
Okay.
a regular water change for me, because I also have a job, like regular schedule. So once every week is my
Okay.
regular. But when
Yeah.
I'm fighting off something, I'm trying to balance something, it's gonna be an aggressive, at least three
Ah,
times.
okay.
Yeah.
I think that is very good advice for
hmm
listeners.
hmm
Hmm.
That's
How
my
about
go-to
you, Rennie?
solution. Before
How
I
about you,
start,
Rennie?
because the challenge with aquascaping is like we try to analyze what's going on, what's wrong, and then we put in chemicals and stuff. But then the reaction time of plants is not a day, it's not another day, it's probably more
Yeah.
than a week. So by the time you realize you overdose, your plant's
Yes.
already dead.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. 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 That's the difficult part about
Yeah, that's it.
aquascaping.
And we rely on visual most of the time. So yeah, water
Hmm.
change is my
Very good.
solution.
Hmm. I find it interesting that you have an entire system that is prepared, like your soil and plants, just to move into the new tank. Yeah, but I think that is a good approach.
mm Oh, my 60 is my pleasure tank. It's like
Yeah.
the tank that I can design it whatever I want it to look. I can put as many fish as I want. It's not a competitive tank. It's like my hobby tank. So I
Yes.
learn from it. I take joy from it, because competitive tanks are sometimes not that joyful
Ah, ah, ah.
because there's a lot of work in it, and it sometimes
Yes.
brings stress. Like it's a mess.
Yes.
Unlike like a hobby tank, is like it's there. It's like what you want, and it's running all day, 24/7. So yeah, I do
Yeah.
have that tank always there.
Okay.
hmm
I think that all of us have like a hobby tank that,
Yeah,
yeah, we take separately from the a tank that is for show, right?
yeah.
How about you, Rainier? Are there special actions you take to let the tank settle in for the first few weeks?
For me, because before I reset a tank, my tank previous contest year tank, what I did is I just get some of them, portion of them, and put it on my 40 cm tank. So normally I will leave some of them to grow on my tank so that next competition year I can use the same plants. And also I have so many, the small tubs here, the Tupperware. I put some of them as immersed plants so that later on I can use it. But normally, for the first 2 weeks, I usually do everyday water change for my
Wow.
Okay.
tank, around 30%. I usually find time to really do the water change as much as possible. And then after 2 weeks, I will reduce it to 3 times a week, around 30 also to 15%. And then afterwards, if I see that my plants are growing well, then I will just do 2 times to 1 time a week for the water change of around 35%. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Uh,
usually on the first for the first day of my tank, I use so many the biobacteria. I put it in the water to enhance the bacteria in the filter as well. Yeah.
okay. Do you guys change the light levels? Like, do you guys start with lower light and increase the light, or is the same from day one?
I
In
do. I
my
do
case,
change.
I usually make it at 30% first
Okay.
Mm.
because I don't put much plants really in my tank. So I usually 30%, and then as times go by, I will just adjust the frequency of the intensity of the light.
Okay. How about you, Nelson?
Yeah, I have a bad habit of tinkering too much. Yeah, so yeah, first I try everything that like this plant is not getting enough light, so I try to create something that the a light effect that will make it reach all the way there. There was a time I even bought spotlights because it had to penetrate on a certain hole of that scape. So I always had adapt because one of the challenges I have is if the tank scape has layers, the
Yes.
plant on the top will
Yeah.
get the most light and plant at the bottom will not. So managing that is a challenge.
Yes.
Like the only way I can make the light penetrate all the way through the bottom is like make really high intensity light source, right? And then my topmost plant will have algae.
Mm,
So yeah, the balancing happens after that.
I see. Yes. I think that you use a lot of plants in your aquascapes.
Yes, I do.
And this why plant management is a very big part on your scape. I think like for Matt, I think that he use mostly the mosses on the surface of hardscape.
Mm,
So he has less rooted plants and that may be a bit easier for him to manage.
mm, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you guys plant quite densely from the start or do you plant more sparsely and allow the plants to grow in after some time?
Mm. Me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Initially, I planned as much as I have to. Like, but
Okay.
then there are plants that come in next. It's like if I see something missing with the scape, then I just add on more to it.
Okay. Okay.
And again, there are certain like layout and design that really takes time to perfect. Like if I'm gonna carpet the whole bottom area, I really have to plant densely on that area. Provided I have what three 3 months to have it covered completely, then yeah, I really have to like make it happen that way. So other plants like quick growing plants, rotalas at the back, that's a less worry. You can plant that anytime within a month and you're good. But yeah, there's plants that are doesn't really grow that fast. That those plants that take a while to settle and begin to grow. That one I plant densely.
Do you find yourself changing the plant choices over time for your aquascape?
Yes, I do. Yeah, it's always it's dynamic. it, Sometimes I feel like okay, pearlweed will look good in here
Or but
probably, and then when you see it, it's like a mess, and then you no pull that out, replace it with something. So yeah, it's dynamic. It kind of keep changing. So yes, I lucky are those that can stick to their plan all the way. Have something good at the end. Mm.
how about you, Rainier? Is your experience similar?
For me, is I usually don't plant well. I mean, not too much plants when on the first day because I always have this attitude that when I do the trimming of the plants, it's always difficult for me to throw away the trimming. So I just always want to use it again, put it there to grow it more. I don't want to. I always don't want to waste the plants. So for me, I normally started with a small portion of the plants and then try to regrow on the tank and replant it on the other side. And yeah, and then usually now, before I use so many substrate on my competition tank, but now I just realized that it can also grow in the wabi kusa. So I just make some wabi kusa and then tie the stem plants in there, and then it still grow.
Okay.
So I normally don't use substrate now.
So you don't use substrate much now.
Yeah, not much now. I'm more on cosmetic sands now. But
Okay.
for the background plants, I just use a wabi kusa
Okay. So do you think
because
that
it
this is more recent?
Sorry.
the using Wabikusa instead of substrate for the plants at the back?
For me, I think it's still okay because for me, in my case, it's always difficult for me to dispose the substrate afterwards. You know, in Hong Kong, it's always difficult because the spaces here are too small, and also the waste management is very strict. So it's difficult for me to dispose this kind of things. So I always try find ways how to grow the plants in the most minimal way and most cost effective way. Yeah.
Nelson, how do you dispose of your old substrate?
I just make sure they're dead before I put it in the substrate. You mean?
No, yeah. So, Rennier said that he had difficulty disposing of the old substrate. What do you do with your old substrates?
Oh, I use them for plants. They're perfect for my
Oh,
garden. Now, like
okay.
garden plant outside
Yeah.
my veranda. So yeah,
Okay.
I keep them because they pretty much are very good. I just
Okay.
leave the plants there and they kind of thrive with it. Mm.
Okay. Matthew, you're back.
Yeah, sorry guys, my internet got interrupted.
It's okay. It's okay.
So what's the
Um,
question?
yeah. The question we were discussing is how do you manage the first few weeks of your tank when the plants are in? Do you do more water changes or do you use less light for a new aquascape? What do you do?
Okay. So for me, my what they call it, my maintenance scheme is to maintain my tank. I always change my water every 2 days. But
Okay.
before the time that I need uh, to grow my plants quickly, I change my water daily. If you remember my first slate scape, which is the synergy, I
Yeah.
always water change every day with RO water or drinking water.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
80%.
80%.
Yeah,
Okay.
for 1 month. 1 month
Yeah. The
for the
first month.
yeah, for the wool month, almost every day.
Okay. So
It's too
for the
expensive
first month,
actually.
daily water changes.
Yeah,
Oh my
for the
gosh.
last month, 1 month before my photo shoot,
Yeah.
I tried that, but right now I use normal water, which is the tap water, and I usually change my water every 2 days. Then
Okay.
my fertilizer scheme, I use. It depends on the uh, plants needed. Like sometimes I use complete, zero, or estimated index.
Okay.
Even my plants is not too many. I still using index when I want
Okay.
to boost my tank to grow faster, and
Okay.
then my light is high. Also, I need to find uh the right the right light, the CO2,
Hmm.
the the, the bubble bubble count of the CO2, and also the flow of the water.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you change the light levels in your tank? Do you change the light intensity in your tank often? Do you change how
Not
strong your
really.
light?
I only change when I see things not good.
Okay.
Like, should I lower the light intensity or should I add more light? It depends on the situation
Okay.
because every tank has a different requirements for me, and of course the plants and the scheme that you use, the water change, the fertilization, and the CO2.
Okay. Okay. I think that for our viewers, one thing that all our aquascapers do is that for the first few weeks or for the first month in Matt's case, they do very, very regular water changes to get their tank to be stable. And I think that it also helps against algae. Yeah. So even though this takes quite a lot of work, I think that it is an approach that most professional aquascapers use, which tells us about the effectiveness about the method. Yeah. Are there particular plant species that you favor, that you use in every scape, or are there particular plant species that you would try to avoid in your aquascaping? Nelson, maybe we can start with you.
There's not really any particular ones, but yeah, I'm not the plant that I don't use the most are the big leaf plants because in competitive aquascaping they're the hardest to mix with a hardscape.
Okay.
Yeah. Big leaf plants not a favorite, but and what else? Like UG Utricularia graminifolia. That one had me. There's a certain time wherein that plant will try to float.
Oh, okay. Okay.
There's a certain density when that time will no longer hold onto the soil and want to just get out of there. So
Yeah.
I learned that the hard way.
Okay.
like it was almost like submission time, and they all started to like
Okay.
get uprooted. I guess the volume of the air inside the plant is starting to get more and more. Then
Yeah.
that's why they're more buoyant than ever. So yeah, timing and the type of plant I really have to like consider.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Matthew, for most of your scapes, I think you use plants that can be planted on hardscape. You don't have so many rooted plants in your scape, right?
Malapit lang yan, Kuya Bro.
Yes, I usually one of my
Yes.
favorite plants right now is the Hemianthus calicatroides, and also the coral moss because as you can see that some of my scape is so very complex, complicated, or the hardscape that we need to use small plants to
Yes.
emphasize
Scale.
the whole picture of the tank. So I
Yes.
need to use small plants, and I love the texture of the Hemianthus calicatroides because it's also grow faster, and also I like Monte Carlo.
Okay. 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 And
So,
you avoid stem plants?
no,
No
I don't
stem
avoid.
plants.
Yeah, I always use stem plants on my scape, as you can see, but it's not what do you call this? Sometimes it's hide on my at the back of my hardscape.
Yeah.
I have a lot of stem plants, so the
Okay.
nutrients is well balanced. I mean, yeah,
Okay. Okay.
that's all.
How about you, Rainier? Do you have favorite types of plants, or are there certain species that you avoid?
For me, I really like Busipalandras, especially because I always want them to have a flowers. I always looking
Okay.
forward to make them flower inside the tank. You know, because
Okay.
not so many people can make them to have a flower inside the tank, even though the flower will just last for a day or two. But I'm always looking forward to my Busipalandra to have a flower inside the tank. And I also really like the coral moss, but coral
Okay.
moss, I notice they are so sensitive if you are dosing glutaraldehyde. So
Yes.
just like the
Yes.
Excel, so they are so sensitive. But I really like the texture that they create in the hardscape. But
Okay.
normally I use also Excel, so it tends to die later on. So yeah, so now I try to minimize the using of coral moss, even though I like it.
Okay. Yes. I like Bucephalandra myself because there are so many species, different colors,
Yes,
different leaf shapes.
yeah,
So there's a lot of variety. Yeah. And a lot of them are small, so they can be used on the hardscape focus tanks without disrupting the sense of scale.
yes, yeah,
We
correct.
We have a question from our audience. In recent aquascaping competition, there is a trend towards people using bigger and bigger tanks. What do you think about this trend? What do you think of aquascapes that are 5 or 6 feet bigger? So what are your thoughts on this? Yeah, I mean Nelson.
Uh,
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Me? Okay. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, because in Japan, the common houses are apartments are not really big.
Yes.
So the maximum I think we can find an aquarium out there is 120 centimeters. So if I want a bigger one, I probably have to make it made to order.
Wow.
And
Okay.
yeah, in my case, it's really hard because that bigger tanks take so much space in the house, and if unlike AGA competition is like categorized on the size. So if you
Yes.
compete on AGA, you can enter a smaller tank, which is
Yes.
good.
Yes.
But on most competitions like ADA and KIAC,
Yeah. There's no size.
IAAC, there's no size, so it's all for one for all. Like whatever you got, throw it in there. Yeah. So people with limited size of tank have little like chances of
Yeah.
competing
Yeah.
in, because
Yeah.
practically bigger tanks has more to look into.
That.
You
Yeah.
can create
Yes.
more depth. You can
Yes.
create more scenery. Unlike a
Yes.
small tank, you're limited to that space.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, getting bigger and bigger is like, I don't know where that is going, but it's gonna be harder for people that cannot uh, accommodate or work with bigger tanks. It
Yes.
becomes limiting more than
Yeah.
um, encouraging.
Yes.
Mm. That's my take.
Rainier. Yes. Rainier, your thoughts on this topic?
yeah, for me, I do love, of course, because I'm now living in Hong Kong. So actually, my living room is just only 150 square feet. Imagine that, too small. But I managed to put a 120 cm tank here,
Yeah.
and still planning to add one more. So
Wow.
I'm really thankful to my wife. She just supported me all through the way of this hobby. But for me, bigger tank is much better because you can create more depth. You can
Yeah.
you can use more different types of species of plants, which you can, especially now the trend is most of them are diorama, so you need
Yes.
more different types of plants to create a natural look of the tank. So I think now the trend is getting bigger. The using bigger tanks is have a bit edge in terms of the ranking in the competition.
Yes. If you ask me, I think that it is not difficult to create 2 or 3 different size categories for tanks. So I do think that the food competitions should do that. I think it is fairer for the competitors, and it also allows more people to participate. For example, there are many aquarists today in countries
Mhm.
and they may not have the budget also for a tank that is 4 or 5 or 6. But I
Yes.
think that the competition is split so that there's the bigger tank size or medium tank size and smaller tank size. People can still compete knowing that their tank has a size that where they are on equal ground with the other competitors. Yeah. So I actually like the AGA approach where there are different size categories. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
What would you two like to see more in aquascaping? Looking at the way the current trends are moving. I know that there's a trend towards having bigger tanks, having bigger hardscape pieces as well. I think that the trend is still in the direction of dioramas, right?
Mhm.
So if you look at the competition scapes, a lot
Mhm.
of the winning works are dioramas. Do you think that this is a good trend, or what do you hope to see yourself in the aquascaping competition going forward? We can start with you, Nelson.
Oh, I, I'm not sure because for me like the like let's say the IAPLC is more on nature aquarium, not much on the diorama. But Yeah, some rankings have been starting to look like a diorama. The other competitions, they don't care. It's diorama or nature, it doesn't matter. Like as long as it's pleasing to the eye.
Okay.
So the way I'm looking at it is like there was some time ago, like few years ago, when the trend was on the jungle look, more
Oh yeah, yeah.
popularized by the Malaysian aquascape,
Yeah.
and they're still doing it, and they are awesome with it. They're very very good on it. So
Yes.
to see that Matt's entry this year was more on the stones, I was
Yes.
thinking, oh, maybe we're looking into the stone age now.
Oh,
We're
okay.
moving out of the forest scene, and we're now like looking into something we can do more with the stone,
Yeah.
because
Okay.
we're probably done with the forest look. So
Mm.
that's only on my opinion. So I'm not sure if that's even correct.
Mm. How about you, Rennier? Do you like the current trend of where aquascaping is going?
I think for me is the trend will be the will be like a balance between the the forest style and the stone, the using of the stone, because now I think most of the aquascapers are thinking differently. I mean, they want to show something new.
Okay.
I also remember previously you can see so many forest style aquascape, but
Yes.
now I think that the trend now is they're balancing it using a bigger
Okay.
wood, but also together with the bigger stones on it,
Okay.
and then complementing with the right plants. So I think for me, it will be that will be the trend, the trend now with the aquascape.
Okay. Matthew, are you there? Matt.
Yeah, yeah, I'm still
Yes.
there. I'm still here.
Okay. What do you think of the current aquascaping trend, and what do you hope to see more yourself? Where do you think the trend is moving towards, and what do you hope to see more of?
Okay. For me, because actually I studied the trend from before, from the previous year, from 2000 until today. I studied the trend of what skate is become the trend like that. But in today's trend, for me, I see more on complex tank. Anything complex, even it's nature style, it's iwagumi, it's nature, or it's diorama. If there's a complex on your style or the dynamics is strong impression, it can give you a higher ranking. So for me,
Okay.
uh, the trend is the complexity. And like I always said, the change is inevitable and change is the key. So we
Okay.
don't need to stay on one trend because trend is
Mm.
changing. There's a
Yes.
lifespan for that trend. Sometimes trends it lasts 1 to 4 years. It depends on the changing mind of the artist, the changing taste of the judges. So change is evolved too fast. So we need
Okay.
to think more about the future trend. Need to create the new trend and don't stuck on the trend. Sometimes
Yeah.
trend is our friends, but sometimes trend is not our friends. So we need the
Yes.
balance. So we need to study everything about the
Yes.
trends
Okay.
and yeah, change is the key. Did you hear me clearly?
You're
Yeah. Yeah.
good.
We can hear you.
Did you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
we can hear you.
Okay, sorry because it's noisy here in my area.
Yes. Matthew, you have quite large tanks yourself. One of the trends we were talking about is that competition tanks are becoming larger and larger.
All right. For me, yeah, a bigger tank has a bigger advantage because you can create more
Yeah.
depth, more details, and uh, texture. Because sometimes we forget the texture, but if you have a bigger tank, you can create a texture. for the plants
Right.
because that's really important. It's like a details. So a bigger tank has a bigger advantage, but let's I mean don't limit ourselves because even a small tank we can do that. But like what I said,
Okay.
the bigger the better. So
Okay.
that's what I think. And
Okay.
120 is the good tank for the bigger tank.
Okay. Okay. So for our viewers that want to try aquascaping, you would suggest a 120. Like 120 is a good size.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's my opinion.
Okay. Okay. I think so also. I agree with that. Mm. I think that is the end of my questions. Are there any topics that you three would like to suggest and ask? If not, there are questions that we can take from the audience also. If any of you watching would have any further questions. Yeah, I think I've heard quite interesting answers on techniques from all three of you. But I think that what was also clear is that even among the expert crowd, the journey to completing a tank is not a short process. It takes longer than most people think. It takes more effort, like a lot of the water changes. And even for those of us who are experienced, we change hardscape and we change our plant choices as the scape progress. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yes. One of the viewer asked, will you say that for small tank owners, if they want to do competitions, they should invest in a bigger tank? Is it a very significant angle?
I think if you want to join in a competitive aquascaping, really as you may know, aquascaping is really not a cheap hobby. You really have to invest, especially with the light, the
Mm.
filter, the tank, and the nutrients, the fertilization is really a bit expensive because so you have to really invest if you want to get a good, for example, if you want to have a good health plant condition, you have a balanced
Mm.
light, CO2, you have to refill CO2 from time to time, and now CO2 I think is getting expensive as well. So I think yes, you really need to invest if you really want to join competition. But if we're
Mm.
happy, if you are already happy with your small tank, I think it does not matter. But for me, for you um to increase your knowledge or to increase your skills, I think I suggest you always join competition, because from that competition
Mm.
you will gauge yourself. You will know where I am now. You
Mm.
will be have a more room for improvement rather than you just keeping it to yourself. Because actually, I see so many talented Filipino aquascapers in the Philippines, but they're always shy to join competition. So I always tell them to really join the competition, because it is always on the positive side. Yeah,
Okay.
you will improve more once the judges see your tank and they make comment on your tank. Then you know which specific um uh side of your tank you have to improve.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, there's a question on taking photographs for competition. Do you guys think that a DSLR or higher end camera is necessary, or can you even use a handphone to take a picture? I think that the camera makes a big difference, but what are you guys' views? Like Matthew, do you think that you could have won those competitions with a handphone picture?
Okay, I like to answer that. Can
Yep,
I?
yep.
Okay, for me, uh, it's not only. You can also use a mobile phone.
Okay.
Actually, from my senior G and until now, I only use my phone.
Okay. Okay.
I don't I don't use DSLR anymore
Okay. Okay.
because phone camera is more advanced, and what do you call this? Everything can be corrected because when you use DSLR or mirrorless camera, you need to what do you do this you need to change everything like the ISO, the shutter speed, and everything. And sometimes it's not what's the color grading is not really good. You need to adjust it on
Okay.
your color grading
Okay.
apps. When you use phone, everything is fine. You only need a few adjustment on the lights. And but
Okay.
for
Okay.
me, you need to practice your skills in photography. That's the really important things. Yeah. Or if you don't have that skill, you need to hire a professional photographer to set your tank.
Okay. Okay. For your tanks, do you light them differently when you take photographs, or do you use the tank only the tank's light when take photographs? Do you use external sources of lighting? How about you,
Uh,
Rainier? Do you?
For me, previously I used DSLR. I also bought so many like this studio lighting, but
Okay.
it's really
Okay.
difficult to take photo. And until recently, I started to use mobile phone as well. Like
Okay.
my previous competition tanks to Korea, I
Okay.
just use mobile phone to take the
You use
photo.
mobile phone. Okay.
And
Okay.
the mobile phone is automatically adjust the colors.
Yeah.
Because in the DSLR, sometimes the colors of the plants is different when you once you take the photo, so you have to
Okay.
adjust it. But now for mobile phone, I think it's really you can adjust it automatically.
Okay. For Matthew, for your competition photos, do you use external light sources? Do you use external lighting?
for me, I only use two lights. First
Okay.
on the front and at the back when during the party. And
Okay.
of course, I also use light on the back. On the back, I
Yeah.
use many lights because I want to
Okay.
create a different what do you call this? Different ambience, different a different flavor on my vanishing point and the side area because I want to make not all the light. I mean the negative space become I more on white color. I love to have a
Mm.
blue piece on the at the back or on the reflection area. So I have many
Yes.
lights on the back, then
Okay.
at the top.
Okay. Okay. How about you, Nelson?
Yeah, it in my case I use external light, especially because most of my style has always had the shadows at the front. That
Oh, okay.
is
Okay.
yeah, it's too dark. It just won't work. So external light is a must.
Mm.
And yeah, I've learned like reflection because that's glass. So I've learned like really to cover it with black cardboards or that board around it because yeah, I always see reflections, and of course you have to take it at night when there's no ambient light around
Okay.
because yeah, the camera will capture it. Yeah, I've not used mobile phone before because already have the camera anyway. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Another question from our audience is, how soon do you start adding fertilizer to a new tank? For new aquascape, when do you start adding fertilizer?
Mm.
Matt, would you like to answer first?
For me, it depends. It depends on the time that I
Okay.
only have. If I have a
Okay.
short time, at the first 2 to 3 days, I don't use fertilizer. But after that, I use fertilizer, and my fertilization scheme is every after water change.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and also
Yeah, but
sometimes
because
I don't. I don't follow the instruction on the fertilizer.
Okay, okay, okay. Do you dose more or do you
Yeah.
dose less than the instruction?
What?
Do you dose more than the instruction or do you dose less?
It depends. It depends on my lights, on the water change. If I use strong lights, and many water change and strong CO2 and flow, I use moderate, just moderate. I don't overdose my tank. Just
Okay,
moderate one. Yeah.
okay, okay, okay.
That's
How
all.
about you? You two? Okay.
For me, I dose the fertilizer on the third day already because, as I said previously, I don't use much substrate right now
Yes.
because, as you
Yes.
know, the substrate is packed up with nutrients, so you don't have to dose fertilizer for the 1 week or 2 weeks. But for me,
Mm.
I do the dosing the second day or third day already because I also do water change daily. So I know that the
Okay.
plants have limited nutrients on the water
Yeah.
column. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much the same with me.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay.
every
Okay.
time, every water change on the beginning of that when I set up the tank, there's gonna be dosing of
Okay.
fertilizers, and then
Okay.
kind of observe what's happening. Like the
Okay.
Yeah.
observing part or stage is really more important to me than what
Mm.
I regularly do. Like, cause
Mm.
yeah, there it's so hard to like just look at it and see what like
Yeah.
if you did something wrong or not.
Yes. Okay. So we got two last questions. Because this is becoming a bit long.
Okay.
Uh, One of them asks, do you follow like the rule of thirds? Do you know what the rule of thirds in aquascaping? Like you have your main focal points and the 1/3 uh,
Mm.
division of the tank. Is that a very strict rule that you guys follow, or um, you throw it out of the water and it's not that important?
For me, absolutely, absolutely. All concept of design I follow because I
Okay.
don't want to relearn what's already learned or
Okay.
established.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
like the rule of thirds is an art format, and we've gone through a lot of years, centuries of following that rule, and it works. So
Okay.
it's a good guideline to cut short
Yeah.
on the
Okay.
design process. It's like I
Okay.
don't need to like spend so much time trying to find out does it look good or not
Yes.
when I already have a template that I can adjust my work into. So the rule of thirds and all other design concept golden ratio, they're on the very start of the design of your hardscape. They should be already there.
Okay.
Mm.
Matt, are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah.
Yeah. What
What's
do
the
you think of
question?
the rule of What do you think of the rule of thirds? Do you always follow it?
Okay, that's a good question. Actually, I'm not a fan of rule of thirds or any of that. As you can see before, I use symmetry. Yeah,
Okay.
Sir Nelson
Symmetry.
know that know that, right, Sir Nelson? Yeah, I
Yeah,
love
I
symmetry
used to
because
always tell him I can tell Matthew's work because it's so symmetrical.
yeah, but recently I use the rule of third,
Okay.
but a bit symmetry. So
Okay.
for
Okay.
me,
So a mix of
as long as you have if you as long as you create impact strong impact tank, doesn't matter if it's in golden ratio, it's a rule of third or symmetry. So you need you need a wow factor because one wow factor is much more advantage than rule of third, golden ratio or what.
okay.
So for me, that's my opinion about that. But if you're a beginner or if you want to make your skate better, uh, the better thing to follow is that uh, the golden ratio and the rule of thirds.
Okay. Okay. How about you, Rennier? Do you agree?
Same with me. I also follow the rule of thirds because
Okay.
it's already evident that most of the top aquascapers or top layouts are using rule of thirds. So you will not go wrong if you will follow the rule of thirds. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. So the last question we have is advice for the new people that are coming into aquascaping. As Matt mentioned, being able to create aquascape with impact is one of the most important things. Uh, so, what advice would you give to a newbie? How do you create impactful like aquascapes? How do you create an impactful hardscape? Is it through the use of shadows, having more sizable hardscape pieces? What advice can you give to a new person coming in on how to create an impactful aquascape? Maybe we start with you Nelson.
Yeah, when I've been like been invited to many competition as a judge.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the go-to concept I always look for when looking at an aquascape is the story.
Okay.
It has to tell me a story. Otherwise, I'm just looking at an aquarium. So
Mm.
that's the first thing that catches my eye. Like, what is this work telling me? Is it about a sunset in the forest? Is it about
Mm.
like something dark scenery, or is it settling? Is it happy? A happy place? It has to convey something. That's what always hits me first, and that's what I'm always looking at. It
Okay.
has to say something. It's gonna tell me a story, and I want to read that by just looking at it. And that
Mm.
always often works with how you arrange your plans, your focal point. Is my eyes traveling all the way, or
Mm.
or am I confused?
Yeah.
My
Okay.
eyes
Okay.
hurt. That's on my take on that one.
Yeah, I think that's a very good take on it.
Mm. Mm.
How about you, Matt? How do you create impact in a hardscape? How do you create impact in an aquascape? What would you advise newbies to do to have that impact in their aquascaping?
Okay, for me, because some of, I mean, all of the aquascaper has a different taste, right? Not everyone like diorama, not everyone like forest or ibagumi or nature style. So for me to create an impact, you need to become unique.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, being
So being
unique has
unique.
a big impact because uniqueness is part of impression that it makes the audience or the judges a wow, a wow factor.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also make your scape simple. Don't be too
Oh,
complex. Just
okay.
make it simple, and shadow is really important because shadow it emphasize the hardscape or the design that you like to achieve. And
Mm.
like what Sir Nelson said, story. Yeah. Story
Mm.
is really important in art because art is like yeah, storytelling. In aquascaping we can apply that because story gives the art life. Without it,
Yeah.
art is just an art without life. So
Mm.
storytelling in aquascaping is very applicable to create an impact aquascape. Like what I post on my wall about the ascent. As you can
Yeah.
see, the story behind this is very precise, like
Yeah.
right.
Yes. Yes.
So the ascent, the title itself, the execution itself, and yeah, that I want to create a tank that underwater feeling with uh, two two different high attention, like going up and going down, but it's emphasized more on up. So storytelling is very important to create an impactful skate.
Yes. Mm. Mm.
That's all.
Yes, okay. How about you, Rainier?
For me, the to have a impact to of your aquascape, I think you need to create something new. Just like what Matthew said, should be unique because nowadays you can see most of the tank are just similar with the previous competition. So
Mm.
always try to think of the out of the box concept, but not too complex as Matthew said. So, and also like Nelson said, you should have a great story to tell.
Okay.
And also for me, I think you should always try to ask advice also from other aquascapers.
Yes.
Always try to share what you learn and try to ask their opinion, because from that you will grow more.
Mm.
So for me to have a great impact, also you should be try to create something new.
Yes. I think that all of you get very good answers. Yeah. I think all of you get very good answers. And with that, we are come to the end of our session. Thank you all three for appearing today and sharing your wisdom with our viewers. And I learned a lot today as well. Whether is it the different techniques you discussed, and I think it was very interesting, especially on the last question. This idea that aquascapes must have a story, and the use of shadows, to actually keep it simple to be impactful rather than to get lost in too many small details. Yes. So I thank our audience for joining us today again. I think that I will download this as a recording. Then this will be put onto YouTube for those of us who did not join today. Thank you all three for being present here again. For our viewers, you can find their works if you Google for Philippine aquascapes, and you look for Rennier, Nelson, and Matthew. You will definitely find their works online, because many of their works are in major competitions that you see throughout the year. With that, we come to the end of the talk. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for inviting us here. Thank you. Good evening.
Thanks for the
Good
privilege,
night.
sir. Dennis. Thanks for the watching
Guys.
also.
Thank you.
Thanks,
The
Rennier.
audience.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye bye.
Okay, bye bye. Good night.
Have a nice day, guys.